Soft, rhythmic sound of a cassette recorder being turned on. A single, wavering candle flame fills the room. Whisper tense. It started as a breath, a sigh against the silence of the house. I held my own breath, my heart a frantic drum against my ribs. Then it came again, closer this time. A voice, worn thin as old silk, weaving through the cold air from the hallway. It wasn't a random sound. It wasn't the wind. It shaped a single, impossible word. My name. Before we begin, make sure you have subscribed to NIGHTSHROUD and have hit the notification bell. This is 37 Blackwood Lane, a Victorian relic slumped at the end of a forgotten cul-de-sac, its gingerbread trim peeling like sunburnt skin. For over a century, it has stood watch. And for over a century, it has whispered. Every single person who has ever slept within its walls, from the original owners to the frantic family that abandoned it just 6 months ago, has reported the same phenomenon. When you are utterly, completely alone, the house whispers your name. I am Dr. Alistair Finch, a historian of the forgotten. I document places that time has chosen to burden. I came to Blackwood Lane not as a ghost hunter, but as a skeptic. I sought to debunk the legend, to find the rational explanation. Faulty pipes, wind through a cracked casement, the power of suggestion. I brought with me only a thermos of coffee, 2 high-fidelity audio recorders, and a single camera. I decided to spend one night, just one, to hear it for myself. The key, heavy and iron, was handed to me by a nervous estate agent. His hand trembled. "You're sure about this, sir?" he'd asked, his eyes darting towards the house's vacant, curtained windows. The last tenants, they left in the middle of the night. Didn't even take their furniture. The lock groaned as I turned it, a sound of protest. The door swung inward. The air that escaped was cold and carried a specific, layered scent. The top note was dust and neglect, the dry taste of abandonment. But beneath it, something else. A faint, cloying sweetness, like old roses and damp earth. It was the smell of a long-sealed tomb. I stepped inside. My footsteps echoed on the bare hardwood, each one a violation of the profound quiet. The late afternoon sun struggled through grime-caked windows, painting the empty living room in stripes of weak, gold light. I could see the ghosts of a life hastily interrupted. A faded rectangle on the wall where a painting once hung. A single, lonely chair facing a cold, soot-stained fireplace. A child's wooden block, abandoned in a corner. I set up my camera on a tripod in this room, pointing it down the long, dark hallway that led to the rest of the house. I placed one audio recorder next to it. The other, I kept in my jacket pocket, my own digital confessional. As night fell, the house began to settle. But its settling was not the normal creaks and groans of an old structure. These were different. They were responsive. A floorboard would sigh in the kitchen a moment after I shifted my weight in the living room. A faint rattle would travel through the pipes in the wall directly behind me, as if tracking my movement. It felt less like a building and more like a living organism. A sleeping beast whose skin I was walking upon. I sat in the lone chair, the camera's red recording light a single, unwavering eye in the gloom. The temperature dropped steadily. My breath began to plume in the air. I checked my watch. 11:47 p.m. The rational part of my mind was scrambling for explanations. A draft. a settling foundation. But the primal part, the part that still fears the dark, knew better. It knew we were no longer alone. And then, the first whisper came. It was not loud. It was not a shout. It was a vocalization formed from the silence itself, a thread of sound spun from the cold air. It seemed to originate not in my ears, but directly in my mind. A sigh that resolved into two distinct syllables. Alistair. My blood turned to ice. I froze, my hand clenched around the cold metal of the audio recorder in my pocket. My rational mind shattered. This was no trick of the wind. The pronunciation was perfect, spoken in a tone of intimate, weary familiarity, as if the house had been waiting all evening to finally greet me. I remained statue still for what felt like an hour, my ears straining until they ached. The house had returned to its watchful silence. I forced myself to stand, my joints protesting. The camera's light was still on, a tiny beacon in the oppressive dark. I had to move. I had to prove to myself I was not going mad. With a trembling hand, I picked up my handheld recorder, clicking it on. Whispering into the recorder. Log entry, 12:03 a.m. The phenomenon has occurred. An auditory manifestation. Clear, intelligible, and personalized. I am proceeding to investigate the hallway. The point of perceived origin. The hallway was a tunnel of shadows. My flashlight beam cut a narrow path through the darkness, illuminating faded floral wallpaper that was peeling at the seams like dead skin. Doors stood ajar on either side, revealing pockets of deeper blackness. Each one felt like an open mouth. The air grew colder with every step I took, the sweet, cloying scent of roses and soil becoming stronger. It was the smell of a grave, exhumed. I paused before the last door on the left. It was closed. From the estate agent's floor plans, I knew this was the master bedroom. A faint, rhythmic sound emanated from within. A soft, dry scraping, like a branch against a window pane. But there were no trees on this side of the house. My hand, slick with a cold sweat, reached for the tarnished brass doorknob. It was freezing to the touch. As my fingers made contact, the scraping stopped. Abruptly, the silence that followed was somehow more terrifying. I pushed the door open. The room was empty, save for a large, dark wardrobe standing against the far wall. The window was intact, clear. No branches. My flashlight beam swept across the floor, across the walls, and finally came to rest on the wardrobe. Its double doors were ornately carved with oak leaves and twisting vines. And tucked into the frame of the left door, barely visible, was a small, faded photograph. I stepped closer, my heart hammering. It was a sepia-toned portrait of a severe-looking woman in a high-collared black dress, her hair pulled into a tight bun. Her eyes, even in the faded print, seemed to follow me. I reached out, my fingers brushing against the brittle paper. And from inside the wardrobe, a voice, clear as day, whispered my name again. Alistair. This time, it was not a sigh. It was an invitation. I stumbled back, my shoulder hitting the door jamb with a solid thud. The sound from the wardrobe had not been muffled. It was crisp, intimate, as if someone was standing just on the other side of the thin wood, their lips pressed against the keyhole. The photograph of the woman fluttered to the floor. I did not stop to retrieve it. My retreat was not a walk. It was a controlled fall, a desperate scramble back down the hall towards the dim red eye of my camera. Back in the living room, I collapsed into the chair, my breath coming in ragged gasps that plumed thickly in the frigid air. The rational historian was gone, replaced by a creature of pure, primal fear. I was an intruder here. The house knew it, and it was making its awareness known. I fumbled for the handheld recorder, my thumb smearing sweat on the plastic. Whispering, voice shaking. Log entry, 12:47 a.m. Second manifestation. Localized. Origin point, the master bedroom wardrobe. The intelligence is responsive. It knows I am here. It is using my name. I played back the last few minutes of the camera's audio on its small screen, the volume low. At first, only the hiss of silence. Then, the faint, unmistakable sound of my own name, drifting down the hallway. A wave of nausea washed over me. It was real. It was on tape. But the second, closer whisper from the wardrobe was only on my personal recorder, a secret shared just between me and the house. The night wore on, each minute a slow agony of anticipation. The cold deepened, seeping through my jacket, biting at my fingers and toes. I no longer tried to explain it away. This was not a draft. This was a presence, a conscious chill that wanted to be felt. I stared into the darkness of the hallway, my flashlight now dead, its battery drained unnaturally fast. The only light was the camera's LED and the guttering flame of my candle, which now cast long, leaping shadows that seemed to twitch and writhe with a life of their own. Then a new sound, faint at first, then growing in clarity. It was the soft, melodic tinkle of a music box. The tune was old, unfamiliar, and slightly off-key, a ghost of a melody drifting from the depths of the house. It was coming from upstairs. A part of me, the part that still clung to reason, screamed to stay put. But the house was pulling me, reeling me in with its whispered invitations, and now, its siren song. I had to know. I had to see. Picking up the camera, I detached it from the tripod. Its light became my sword and my shield as I turned towards the staircase. The stairs groaned under my weight, each creak a protest. The music grew louder, clearer. It was definitely coming from a small room at the end of the upstairs hall, a nursery, according to the plans. The door was slightly ajar. A sliver of profound darkness lay beyond. The music box was right on the other side. I took a deep breath of that foul, sweet air, pushed the door open, and raised my camera. The room was small and circular, a turret room. In the center, sitting alone on the dusty floorboards, was a small, porcelain music box. Its lid was open, and a tiny, tarnished ballerina spun in jerky, silent circles. The music, however, continued to play. As I stepped inside, the melody began to slow, the notes dragging, warping, until it descended into a discordant, dying groan. And in the new silence, a third whisper came. Not from the hallway, not from a wardrobe. It came from directly behind me, in the small, cramped space of the nursery doorway. A voice, dry as fallen leaves, breathed two words into my ear. "I'm here." I spun around, the camera jerking in my hand, its light sweeping wildly across the empty doorway. There was nothing there, nothing but the oppressive, watchful dark. The air in the nursery was now so cold it hurt to breathe. The sweetness of decay, so thick it coated my tongue. A high, thin sound escaped my throat, a whimper of pure, undiluted terror. I was no longer an investigator. I was prey. I shoved past the doorway, my shoulder brushing against the jamb where a moment before that voice had existed. The sensation was like pushing through a curtain of freezing water. I half ran, half fell down the staircase, my descent a chaotic clatter in the silent house. I did not stop in the living room. I did not grab my bag or the other recorder. My only thought was the front door, the world outside. My hand closed around the cold brass of the knob. I twisted. It refused to turn. I pulled, my muscles straining. It was locked, securely, impossibly locked from the inside. The key was in my bag, across the room. I was trapped. The house had sealed itself. A low, guttural moan built in the hallway behind me. A sound of ancient timber and something more, something vocal. It was a sound of satisfaction. From the pocket of my jacket, the handheld recorder was still running. I fumbled for it, my fingers numb and clumsy. I had to document this. I had to have proof. I raised it to my lips, my voice a broken rasp. Whispering, frantic, "It's locked. The door is locked. It won't let me out. It's her. The woman in the photograph. I can feel her. She's in the walls. She's in the air." A new sound began. A soft, shuffling drag. Step. Drag. Step. Drag. It was coming from the top of the stairs. I pressed my back against the unyielding door. The camera held out before me like a ward, its light illuminating the foot of the staircase. The shuffling reached the top step. Then, the second. I could see nothing, but the sound descended, methodical, relentless. Step. Drag. The smell of roses and damp soil became a physical presence, a fog that filled the foyer. My eyes watered. The shuffling reached the bottom step. It was at the entrance to the hallway now, just beyond the edge of my camera's light. I could hear a soft, wet breathing. The sound stopped. It was standing there, in the dark, looking at me. And then, the whisper came again. Not from one place, but from everywhere at once. From the floorboards, the ceiling, the very dust motes dancing in the camera's light. It was a chorus of one, a dry, rustling voice that filled the entire house. "Alistair, stay?" I screamed, a raw, primal sound that tore from my throat. I threw my body against the door, again and again, the wood shuddering in its frame. On the third impact, with a sound like a gunshot, the lock splintered and the door flew open. I stumbled out into the cold, clean air of the pre-dawn, falling to my knees on the dew-soaked grass. I did not look back. I ran, the weight of the house's gaze heavy on my back, the echo of that final command ringing in my ears. It was only hours later, in the sterile light of my study, that I reviewed the footage. The audio from the camera was a symphony of terror. My ragged breaths, the groaning house, the three distinct, whispered utterances of my name. But it was the final seconds of the recording, the moment I fled, that haunts me still. As the camera fell to the floor in my panic, its lens pointed back into the house. And there, in the profound blackness of the hallway, 2 points of light reflected back, pale and watchful, like eyes. For days, I could not sleep. The smell of old roses and soil seemed to have permeated my clothes, my skin. The audio recording was a sensation, of course. It fueled debates on paranormal forums and skeptical podcasts. But they only heard the whispers. They didn't feel the cold, intelligent malice that accompanied them. They didn't see the eyes in the dark. My historical training compelled me to understand what I had encountered. I buried myself in archives, in crumbling property records and digitized newspaper clippings. The story of 37 Blackwood Lane began to emerge, not as a ghost story, but as a tragedy. The house was built in 1882 by a wealthy widower, Silas Blackwood, for his new, much younger bride, Alara. She was a reclusive woman, described in society pages as having a nervous disposition and a peculiar attachment to the house and its gardens. She rarely left. Silas, a merchant, was often away for months at a time. The records showed a single, stark entry from the winter of 1898. Alara Blackwood was found deceased in the master bedroom. The cause was listed as a sudden fever, but the local gossip sheets of the time hinted at something darker. A loneliness that curdled into madness. She had no children, no close friends. Her only company, the papers noted with morbid poetry, was the house itself. She had cultivated a particular breed of black rose in the garden, whose scent, even when dried, was said to be overpowering. The first tenant after Silas sold the property, a bank clerk named Higgins in 1905, was the first to officially report auditory peculiarities. He told a local priest the house breathed his name at night. He lasted 3 months. The pattern repeated decade after decade. A family in the 1920s left after their daughter drew pictures of a sad lady in the walls. A couple in the 1950s claimed their radio would switch on by itself, playing only a single, crackling music box melody. The reports were always the same. A whisper, a feeling of being watched, the scent of flowers, and a profound, isolating cold. The debate, then, is not about whether the phenomena occur. The evidence, both anecdotal and now, from my own recording, is overwhelming. The debate is what it is. Is it a residual echo, a psychic recording of Alara's profound loneliness and obsession, forever imprinted on the bricks and mortar? Or is it something more sentient? Something that has learned, over a century, to lure people in, to learn their names, to feed on their fear? A parasite of emotion, using Alara's sorrow as its original template. The house is empty again. The estate agent won't return my calls. I keep the key, a cold, heavy weight in my desk drawer. Sometimes, in the dead of night, when my own house is too quiet, I think I hear it. Not a whisper, a rustle, a promise. The true horror of 37 Blackwood Lane is not that a ghost whispers your name. It is that, after a while, you might find yourself wanting to whisper back.